I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, January the 18th, brought to you in part by NatureSafe by Diamond V. NatureSafe is the most advanced immune support postbiotic for beef cattle. NatureSafe is a natural, non-antibiotic solution containing numerous metabolite compounds specifically formulated to optimize health and performance in cattle. Help your cattle's health and keep your cattle all natural. For more information, go to diamondv.com. Missed extra points. And the cattle market towards the end of last week and early this week kind of reminds me of that football game that we saw on Monday night. Your Cowboys had everything going for them, everything going their way, scoring at will. Market was good, everything was going up, being able to get sales in their way, mostly higher, still winning for the most part, but they can't finish it off. We've lost our leverage in the fat cattle arena right now, and we really lost it the week before, but last week we for sure lost it with weighted averages in your five area feeding region, almost $1 lower. And the worst thing probably was we sold a significant number of cattle for the 2 to 4 week delivery, which is what's really hard to get past, because now your packers are kind of set up for the near-term future with cattle set up for delivery, and that's frustrating. But the Cowboys can't finish it off, and this week is going to get tougher. So they're going to have to get their stuff together here. We got another winter storm coming across the northern plains, and the weather is probably hurting the market as much as anything, or pressuring the market and the sheer numbers of cattle moving. Yes, we're very tight on market ready cattle, fat cattle, but with those fat cattle, going through these cold temperatures and through these storms, and then after the storms pass and you get a melting, then they're trudging the mud. They've got a lot of tag on them in the northern plains and things like that. It's just tough to get through these winter storms in this time of the year. On your feeder cattle, the snow's deep in cattle places in the northern plains, and these storms are taking a toll on the help, on the facilities, on the health of the cattle that they've already got, and it just makes it tough. And kind of like Jackie Moore was saying on his weekly Joplin Regional Stockyards video, if you're wanting to know when to sell your cattle, you might want to take a look at the weather and the forecast, near-term forecast, for the places that you think those cattle might be going. And you won't want to sell cattle that are going to go north if they've got a northern storm coming across. And I think that's got as much to do with it as anything, and there's just been a lot of feeder cattle moving. Yes, we're really tight on feeder cattle numbers. Yes, it's going to get extremely tighter because the way that they've sold these cattle this year and this season, they've sold them earlier, so we haven't seen a drop-off in your auction receipts and the number of cattle moving, and so it's making people think, well, maybe we're not that tight on numbers. We are going to get extremely tight on numbers. These numbers are going to dry up in a hurry. We've been selling at our high volume sales like Oklahoma City and Joplin and El Reno. We've been selling right along and been very close to and maybe ahead of the same time a year ago on receipts, but it is going to drop off big time here later this winter and early in the spring especially. These lightweight calves to go to grass are going to be extremely hard to find. The prices on them are going to go through the roof. The guys that know what they're doing have been scrambling and getting those kind of cattle bought and just searching for something to feed them until they get to the grass, because the feed is so high and forage of any kind is extremely hard to find. But it's going to get tougher. We've got a cattle on feed report coming out this Friday, and it doesn't really matter what it is what we always say. It's just what it is in comparison to what everybody thought it was going to be. Well, we don't know what it is, but we did find out here early this week what everybody thinks it's going to be, and by everybody I mean the average of the analysts guess that put out their estimates of it. And the on-feed inventories for January the 1st, they've got them pegged at 96.8, which sounds pretty reasonable. You expect it to be some less than a year ago, but I mean, there's a lot of cattle in the feedlot still. Probably not as many as there was this time a year ago, but still a significant number of cattle on feed. And the placement number worries me a little bit as to it could come out bearish. I think there's a good chance that it's going to come out bearish. And we don't need that right now whenever we've lost our leverage in our fat cattle. We've got several things pulling down on your feeder cattle and your short yearling feeders, your bigger calves that are selling right now. They've got that placement number figured at 91.5%. I'm not sure if we're quite ready for 91.5%. Sure, there's lighter numbers of cattle out there, feeder cattle and calves, but we've sold a lot of them early, and where else are you going to put them? It's not like you found a nice wheat patch to turn them out on, or some stockpile grass to turn them out on, or something like that. No, they went into some kind of a feeding facility. It might be a growing yard, but many of those are going to get calculated into cattle on feed too. So that 91.5% is extremely aggressive, in my opinion. If we would happen to come in under that, I think it would be extremely bullish. But I don't think we can reach that 91.5%. We've still moved a lot of cattle. We moved a lot of cattle in December. Yes, we had a cold spell there before Christmas, and that kind of lightened up receipts some, but still a lot of cattle moving, and they're moving early. We've got lighter numbers of them when we get them all rounded up, and like I say, we're gonna run really short of cattle here as we move on through the next several weeks and months. But as to now and December placements, I think 91.5 is extremely aggressive. Your marketings, which they mostly peg, and the way that the holidays fell, it kind of messed up our marketings a little bit, but they've got those pegged at 94.7%. So that's going to be a hump. We're going to cringe just like we ever do every month on our Cattle on Feed report. I wish we had Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act, which one of the things that it would do is it would make your large packers tell the cattle that they have scheduled for delivery over the next 2 weeks. They're not going to tell us that. They don't want us to know how short bought they are. It would be really good information for producers to make their marketing decisions, but they don't have to tell us that. But we have to give up the Cattle on Feed report every month and then cringe as they pull the cover back, and then we see what it does, and then it's after the board closes on Friday, so we just cringe until Monday morning, which your board loves to open up lower anyway. And your board's been lower this week to start the week out. Look at your February live cattle futures for Tuesday, down 72 cents at 157 even. You think, well, it shouldn't be that much lower. That 157 is not far from your weighted average on live steers in your 5 aerial feeding regions, so maybe that is close. And your board doesn't really have to converge with what cash is anyway, so that may not be that far off. Your April live cattle futures down 80 cents at 160.10. Those April live cattle have lost 300 points or $3 from their late December high. Yes, they may look oversold, but that 160 is a hump. And April, settled on Tuesday at 160.10. It's just one of those invisible thresholds that's hard to get up to and hard to get over. So I can see why your April live cattle futures are pulling back from that. Your back months on live cattle were down 12 cents to down 35 cents. January feeder cattle down $1.60, and that has everything to do with your grains, which continue to go up after last Thursday's bullish to the grain market report. But down 160 on January feeder cattle at 179.65, still trading at a premium to what the market is right now, according to your real-time index, which is always up to date and current, and it's trading right under 178. But March feeder cattle down 157 at 180, 130. Your back months were all down on feeder cattle, down 70 cents to down $1.17. March corn up 10.25 cents at 6.85 1/4, getting right back up there close to $7, guys. March beans up 12 cents at 15.39 3/4. Haven't really seen anything out of your direct fat cattle trade in your 5-area feeding region. We had a few loads sell in Iowa at 157, which is in the range, but kind of on the bottom side of that. But that's nothing to establish the market, and we're not seeing anybody blink in your other regions, and for the most part, none in Iowa either. So it's going to be tough sledding for those guys. And the storm that's coming through and the weather and the conditions in those feedlots is probably going to cause those guys to be willing to sell those market-ready cattle that they've got all that money invested in and all that feed, and they've got them up there ready to sell. So it could be tough sledding to try to hold the market steady this week, but I sure hope that they do. Box beef cutout values were lower. Choice cuts down 77 cents at 276.66. Selects down 202 at 254.53. Your slaughter running at a pretty good clip here. 253,000 through the first 2 days of this week, and Monday being a holiday, but didn't pull back much at all for that, so that's encouraging. But that 253,000 harvest is 3,000 less than the previous week, which was the first week to really kick off the new year without holiday interruptions. And that 253,000 this week is 25,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on here on the Feeder Flash. We like to keep you up to date on the cattle market. We like to keep you in the know about the conditions that are affecting the cattle market. But we like to have a good time too, and we like to feature different things that keep you tuning in, which is what keeps us going here. But we've got something new that we're going to start. We're pretty excited about it. But starting this month, we're coming up with the National Beef Wire Punchy Pick of the Month. And you guys know what I mean by punchy. You know, some kind of hardcore cowboy shit. Just a picture of something punchy that you see happening on your place, or you know, at a sale barn, in a feedlot, out on your ranch or farm, hauling cattle. You know what I'm talking about. Whenever something comes up and you think, gosh, that's pretty punchy. You know, I might be a little kid showing that he's a true cowboy, or a wreck, or whatever it is. But send your punchy pick of the month candidates into punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. We're going to select the pick, the winner of the month, and at the end of every month we are going to show you what it is, show you who the winner is, who sent it in, and then that winner is going to receive a prize package. The sponsor of the punchy pick of the month is Ferapeace, which is a new kind of a revolutionary stress reducing product for cattle. You're going to get some of that product for free, and then you're going to get some really cool swag from Beaver Feed, which is there in Beaver, Oklahoma, and Beaver County Stockyard. So we're going to try to have a lot of fun with this National Beef Wire Punchy Pick of the Month. You look at this candidate, which would be maybe a winner if it was sent in, but this pick that I showed you guys here a few months ago, my friend Jack Payne, showing his ranch cowboys how you warm up a green broke ranch pony there on a cool morning across an open pasture there. But that would qualify as a punchy pick of the month. But we're sure interested and excited to see what kind of picks we see sent in. So don't forget to send in your punchy pick of the month to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction, based on your 800-pound steer up through the middle 12 states, and it's your cash feeder cattle sales there. It's always up to date and current, sitting at 177.78. Late on Tuesday, that was down 90 cents. It was down about a $0.50 after Monday's trade, and then down nearly a full $1 after Tuesday's trade. And this market's just tougher, guys, which I told you that on the last visit that we had. But what's a little worrisome to me is your latest available CME cash feeder cattle index still sitting at 181.05, and it's almost impossible to get 181 for a perfect load of all black yearling feeder steers in a sale barn setting anywhere. So that's got to come down. They're not sure why they're not getting some of those cheaper and smaller bunches of cattle in that index, but that thing is running really high right now. Like I said, it's almost impossible to achieve that. I'm going to show you a couple places where we did achieve that later in this report, but that's on the extreme high end. But I'm coming to you here from Demopolis, Alabama. I'm in town for the Elite Livestock Sales producer meeting that's going to be held here in Demopolis at the Cedars on Wednesday. Going to have several speakers. I'm going to be presenting there. They've got a presenter from Adams Land and Cattle Company who's going to be talking. Got Eric Smith going to be educating people about LRPs. We've got some other speakers there. And then they are going to have their January video sale on dvauction.com. Got 24 loads of cattle going to be selling on the video there. It's going to be at 3 o'clock at dvauction.com. This is your crew from Montgomery Stockyards that we're having the Montgomery video sales. Since they have closed Montgomery Stockyards, they're going to continue on with the videos, but now we're calling them Elite Livestock Sales. Going to be pushing, and they've got several sales scheduled. They're going to be having them at different sites all around the southeast. And you might not think 24 loads of cattle is a lot. It's a lot in the southeast this time of year, guys. But they got some big sales coming up later in the spring, and then especially in the summer when they have their bigger sales. But this is the crew that you trust and rely on. Mr. Jerry Etheridge and Daryl Stokes, and then Chuck Bradley, Wesley Grantham. They got the whole crew. They've got reps set up from all over the southeast, and really going to push on some video sales in the southeastern part of the country. Talk about your big sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri had 3,550 head of cattle through the ring. Had another 733 sell through their in-house video that they do with help from DV Auction. The cattle through the ring were mostly calves and mostly in smaller bunches. Didn't have a lot of big strings of calves, but the calves sold mostly $3 to $6 lower, with the exception of those real pee-wee stockers weighing under 4.5, and they were steady to as much as $4 higher. Yearlings were not well tested. You look at a market in west central Missouri. It's kind of a favorite market for your northern buyers up in Iowa and Nebraska to buy some cattle to background, and it's a favorite from your Flint Hills guys to buy lighter weight cattle to get out there and warm up to get ready for the grass. But Kingsville Livestock Auction in Kingsville, Missouri, it's just south and east of Kansas City a little ways, had a big sale, 4,800 head. The steers sold mostly steady. Heifers were steady to as much as $7 lower, but they had a whiz-bang sale last week, so now that comes into play there. But you look at this automated market report from Cattle Market Central, you look at your best tested weights, and this is the Southern Plains working over to your lower Midwest market, but there was 646 head of your 5-weight steer calves, average 556 pounds, with a weighted average price of $211.59. 790 head of 6-weight steers, average $641. Weighted average price on them $190.29. 526 head of 7-weight steers in Kingsville, Missouri, average $774. The weighted average price of $179.12. Look at some of the heifers. 679 head of 5-weight heifer calves, average $547 with a weighted average price of $176.46. 730 head of 6-weight heifers, average 656 pounds with a weighted average price on all those heifers of $172.23. Talk about your Zoetis stick-out sale of the day. It was up in the Northern Plains in Kimball, South Dakota at Kimball Livestock Exchange. That 4,400 head of feeders go through the sale. More yearlings than a lot of sales, selling just mostly calves, but Be some of them short yearlings, big calves, but long time wean, and then some hard old crop yearlings in the mix too. But market was mostly steady to higher than last week. And look at your best tested weights on this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. You see 841 head of 6-weight steers in Kimball, South Dakota, average 655 with a weighted average price on all those of $200.90. 617 head of 7-weight steers, average 752, weighted average price on them $183.08. 575 head of 8-weight steers, averaged $841 with a weighted average price on all those 8 weights at $178.95, and that would be a big premium sale, guys. Most places won't do that, be in the low 70s or even the high 60s. And one big slug of heifers, 652 head of 6-weight heifers, average 627 pounds with a weighted average price on all those 6-weight heifers of $190.80. Pretty smoky. Going to give you several individual quotes from all around the region. How about Huron Continental Marketing in Huron, South Dakota? They sold 67 head of steers, weighed 732 on Tuesday, bring $194. About Tri-State Livestock Exchange in Ray, Colorado. They sell 81 head of 614-pound steers at $2.27 a pound. Wow. Market I don't think we've ever talked about before. Scotland County Livestock in Memphis, Missouri sells 61 head of 892-pound steers at $180.25. And yes, they do have farmer feeders in that region there and not too far away. Talk about some high lightweight calves. Riverton Livestock Auction in Riverton, Wyoming sells 54 head, 465-pound steer calves, bring $264.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Dunlap Livestock Auction in Dunlap, Iowa, 123 head, 863-pound steers, bring $184.50. That would be the extreme top, guys. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.